football team tries to bounce back from a tough loss against Wake Forest when they welcome in a Michigan State team that comes into town with a chip on their shoulder.
The Hoosiers on the pitch for a top 10 matchup against the Bulldogs of Butler. Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night. Welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Juliana Sherry.
And I'm David Sugarman.
And we're here in the Beckley studio in Franklin Hall, where normally we kick things off with a little bit about American football. But this week, David, talking about the men's soccer team who are on quite the hot streak heading into Wednesday night.
That's right, Juliana. An in-state rivalry against Butler for two top 10 teams. Our own Bailey Bowles was at the pitch.
This game didn't get good until the second half, and that's where we pick it up. Butler already up 1-0 thanks to Jared Timmer, but this time he decides to get some of his teammates in on the play. In the 62nd minute, Jared Timmer brings the ball downfield, gets a pass to David Goldsmith with a little bit of fancy feet before Goldsmith gets it in just out of the reach of Colin Webb. This is Butler's second goal, putting them up 2-0 in the second half. In the 75th minute, coming off a corner kick, Tanner Thompson was in the right place at the right time. This shot a little low for Eric Dick, and Indiana cuts the deficit in half. Coming off a penalty kick, the ball was deflected in front of the goal, and another right time, right place play off the foot of Trevor Swartz. This is tying the game up in the 80th minute. Richard Ballard sets up the play and makes a pass to Phil Fives, and the slow roll to the goal to Austin Poncho seals the victory and thrills a crowd at Jerry Yeagley Field as the Hoosiers take this in-state top 10 matchup 3-2. Bria Maxey, IUS TV soccer reporter, got a chance to talk to the players after the game.
The Hoosiers winning their fourth overtime game this season. Some would say this could lead the team to lose their mind, but the players would say differently. They said the coach is always preparing them to be the player in the box and be in the position to make the play, but it also comes down to instinct.
It's just more of a mentality thing that we just got 20 more minutes to find the goal, and every time we're at home, we want to win the game. So it's really just a mentality of we're going to win this game. We're just going to keep pushing and just pushing until we score, really.
The Hoosiers will be facing Notre Dame next Tuesday in South Bend. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Bria Maxey.
The women were at home this past weekend looking to pick up their second conference win this season. After being shut out by Minnesota on Friday, they welcomed the Wisconsin Badgers to Jerry Yeagley Field on Sunday. Bailey Bowles has the highlights from that crucial game.
The Hoosiers bounced back from Friday's loss to Minnesota with a huge win over Wisconsin. The Badgers jumped out to an early lead when Emily Borgman chipped it in over freshman keeper Sarah Lamadou in the 6th minute for a 1-0 lead. Later in the 20th minute, freshman Allison Jordan lands a fantastic header for the equalizer and her first goal of the season. The Hoosiers got their first lead of the game when junior Kylie Kirk booted in the rebound for the score. The team held on to their 2-1 lead for the rest of the first half. In the second half, it did not take long for Wisconsin to tie the game once again when Rose Lavelle spun around and booted it just outside of Lamadou's reach. Determined to finish this in regulation, the ladies fought hard for their final goal, which came after a bizarre sequence that ended with the ball bouncing off of sophomore Cassidy Blocka in the 77th minute. Wisconsin tried to tie the game once again, but came up short. This one ended with the Hoosiers on top with a score of 3-2. The team will be back in action this Friday when they take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers in Lincoln. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Bailey Bowles.
The football team started off the season 2-0, and a lot of that had to do with them being able to keep their hands on the ball. But David, this past weekend, weren't able to do that quite as well.
That's right, Juliana. The name of the game was turnovers, turnovers, and more turnovers. 5 interceptions out of Richard Lago on Saturday against Wake Forest. For the recap, we go to our football reporter, Drew Martin.
The Indiana Hoosier football team took on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons on Saturday. The Hoosiers, playing their first game since the bye week, look to maintain an undefeated record at Memorial Stadium. We picked this one up with the first play from scrimmage, and it's a play-action pass to Nick Westbrook. He does what he's been doing all season long and breaks free for a 75-yard touchdown to open up a 7-point lead for the Hoosiers. After a Wake Forest punt off their opening drive, the Hoosiers look to add to their lead, but that's redshirt freshman Jesse Bates, ladies and gentlemen. Bates snags that one for a touchdown-saving interception and puts his team in good field position at the 39-yard line. With first and goal, Wolford lines up in the shotgun and ends up taking it himself to put the Demon Deacons on the board. To the second quarter we go as Lego drops back and the ball is tipped into the hands of none other than Jesse Bates. Bates has himself a day with 2 interceptions for a total of 94 yards after the fact, and he even adds a touchdown to the mix, all in the first half. Later in the quarter, the Demon Deacons are back at it with a 26-yard pass to wide receiver Chuck Wade, extending their lead to 14 as we enter halftime. Some second half action with Richard Lego throwing a strike down the sidelines to Ricky Jones. Jones finished the day with an impressive 208 yards receiving on 8 catches. In the very next play, Lego finds Nick Westbrook for the 10-yard touchdown off a textbook out route by the sophomore. IU would go on to score 2 more touchdowns late in the game, but Wake Forest was too much to hold off as the Hoosiers dropped their first game of the season and first home game as well, with a final score of 33-28. Lego did finish the day with an IU record of 496 yards through the air with 3 touchdowns, but to go along with that, he racked up 5 interceptions. The Hoosiers will play the Michigan State Spartans next Saturday at Memorial Stadium in their Big Ten season opener. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Drew Martin.
Now, Indiana certainly wasn't the only Big Ten team that struggled at home last week. I'm joined at the desk by our football reporter, Brandon Pavlina. And Brandon, Indiana's next opponent, Michigan State, had a real tough time themselves last week on their home turf.
Yeah, David, they really did, as Michigan State fell at home to the Wisconsin Badgers by a final score of 30-6, and Michigan State had a hard time keeping their offense on the field as they turned the ball over 4 times, 3 interceptions by their 5th-year senior quarterback Tyler O'Connor, and also a rushing fumble on the day. And Michigan State is really known for their tremendous rushing attack, but Wisconsin did an excellent job of neutralizing it, allowing the Spartans just 75 yards on the ground. And Indiana will have to look for a similar recipe to try to keep the Spartans at bay in the upcoming game this weekend. And Coach Wilson addressed the media on Monday to talk about how his team would do just that.
We got to do a better job, though, with the hands. We got to do a better job with our receivers there. We got to be a lot tougher. We got to be a lot more physical. We got to find some run game. We got to take care of the ball. We got to do things it takes to win, because now we're playing. That team last week, we came in and played good team ball.
The Hoosiers take on the Spartans Saturday at 8. You can listen to that game on WIUX 99.1 FM with Josh Eastern, Mike McMahon, and our very own Juliana Sherry on the call.
And we've been talking a lot about college football, but David, some former Hoosiers getting their names called in the NFL.
That's right, putting up some big numbers on Sunday and Monday night. We kick things off in Dallas. Bears, Cowboys, Sunday Night Football. Stage not too big for Jordan Howard. 36-yard carry early in the second quarter here. That was 36 of his 92 total yards on the night, 47 receiving yards. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough as the Bears came up short on the road. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, Broncos on the road trying to stay undefeated, and they did just that with the help of former Hoosier wideout Cody Latimer. Latimer using his long strides and speed for a 46-yard kickoff return that would help set up a Denver touchdown. And of course, Indiana fans, no stranger to the strides and speed of Latimer. Throwback Thursday, 2013, Indiana hosting Mizzou in one of Latimer's most memorable games in an Indiana uniform. 8 catches for 136 yards and one of his 17 career touchdowns in the cream and crimson. Now, if you tuned in for Monday Night Football, there's a good chance that you tuned in for the Tevin Coleman Show. Falcons went to him early and often. Looking to get on the board for the first time, first quarter, they go to Coleman. Other side of the field, second and goal towards the goal line, they look to Coleman again. But Coleman good for more than just the rushing game. On a big 4th and 1, the play action fakes at Coleman, and then they still give it to him, streaks down the right sideline to set up a scoring play. Well, for you know who it is, Tevin Coleman getting the hat trick, goes into the end zone virtually untouched to cap off a big weekend for Hoosiers and the NFL.
The field hockey team returned home this past weekend to take on Rutgers and try and even out their conference record. The Hoosiers were on top heading into halftime 1-0, but Rutgers came back in the second with some fire. Alyssa Bull tied things up in the 46th minute with a deflection off goalkeeper Noelle Ruta's pads. The game didn't stay even for long, though, and for the third time this season, junior Taylor Pearson netted 2 goals, with her second being the game winner that came in the 48th minute. Kate Barber, the senior captain, went on to score a security goal off of a penalty stroke, and it was lucky for the Hoosiers that she did, as Rutgers' comeback bid was started with 4 minutes left when Nikki Santori scored, making it a 1-goal deficit for the Scarlet Knights. Off of a penalty corner that would have tied things up, senior defender Elle Hemp made a crucial deflection, and the Hoosiers went on to win 3-2. Hemp had this to say about her deflection and the Hoosiers' first Big Ten win.
Well, I think that Rutgers did a great job of putting our defense under a lot of pressure, but our coaches scouted them so well that we knew mostly exactly what was coming, so I just had to read the play and put myself in the right position. This win is very important to just establish our position in the Big Ten, but I think that we took a lot from that Maryland loss. Like, we bumped up our tempo, got more adjusted to our formation, so we could really come into this game very strong.
The field hockey team faces another top 20 opponent at home this weekend. You can catch them at the IU Field Hockey Complex at 3 p.m. on Friday when they face the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Rugby is the fastest growing sport in the country, and the men's and women's team in Indiana are 2 of the best in the nation. They had some home games this past Saturday, and Jacques Rozier was there to catch all the action at Evan Williams Field.
The women played host to Notre Dame on Saturday. The Irish get a late try to go up 40-33. The Hoosiers made a couple of attempts late, but unable to get past any turnovers or any other good plays. The Irish hold firm and able to take the game 40-33. Moving on to the men's game, Indiana hosts Illinois in a Big Ten matchup. Hoosiers already up 3-0 early in the first half, coming off of a line-out. No better way to get on the scoreboard than to get behind the captain. Bryce Campbell taking no prisoners, bowling through the Illini in for 5. Conversion good. Hoosiers up 10-0, and that's about when the river started to overflow. Hoosiers now up 17-0. Check out this play. Michael Weimer out to Louis-Jean Murray, who hits Casey Smith, weaving through the orange and blue in for 5.
We know our forwards are very capable of scoring as well, but when we get the opportunities as a back, we definitely try to exploit whatever Illinois or whoever our opponent is gives us.
Hoosiers spreading the wealth. Weimer in again on the outside of the orange and blue. This time, Louis-Jean Murray decides to take it in himself. Later on in the first, Indiana crashing again. Takora Suzuki gets just close enough. Heads up play from Dakota Worth to add to the Hoosiers' big lead. It's a little bit of a bittersweet moment for the Hoosiers. Even though they get the victory over Illinois on the home pitch, they give up their first points of the season.
As always, we try and aim for shutouts. You know, we want our defense to really stifle other opponents, but we gave up 7 today, I believe it was, and we kind of just are going to take it in stride.
Second half, Illini kicks out of the try zone, hoping to get a little breathing room and prevent a score by the Hoosiers, but the ball lands right in the hands of Jake Hidalgo, who puts his second try on the board. Hoosiers take this one 80-7. Up next for the Cream and Crimson, the Boilermakers of Purdue, on the road in West Lafayette. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Jacques Rozier.
The men are currently number 5 in the nation and could be looking at their 4th straight undefeated season, but it's not going to be easy. They have Big Ten foes, Michigan and Wisconsin, on the horizon.
Even though the fall weather is starting to creep in, David, there's still plenty of games for people to get out to this season.
Absolutely, Juliana. Here's some games you can get out to rack up those Crimson Guard reward points.
Don't forget to like our page, IUS TV Sports, on Facebook, as well as following us on Twitter at IUS TV Sports. For David Sugarman, I'm Juliana Sherry. We'll see you next time on Hoosier Sports Night.